haven't seen you in a while. You know, come on, say hey. Yeah, baby. Baby's being friendly today, y'all. Alright. Mama's got a film now. You gotta get down. Hey y'all, I'm Kashawn and you are watching The Book Archer. Now that I've taken a little breather, I'm ready to get back to it. Perfect tag to do to come back would be the mid-year book freakout tag. This is my second favorite tag of all time. I will probably do this tag every single year. I will leave a link to my 2019 tag. We're not gonna waste any time. Let's get right into the questions. Question number 1. Best book you've read so far in 2020. More Than Enough by Elaine Welteroth. OMG. This book took me by surprise. I started this book at the end or towards the end of May, finished it up at the beginning of June, and y'all, this book came right on time. The book basically is an autobiographical account of Elaine's life up until this current point. Elaine is in her early 30s, but she is most well known for being the youngest ever editor-in-chief at the largest international magazine publication. She was the editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue, and she was also the first African-American woman to be an editor in one of the health and beauty areas of the company, because you know they put such a large emphasis on Eurocentric beauty that you don't really see black people in those roles. And the book just chronicles like her life story, how she got her early start when she worked at Ebony magazine, how she eventually transitioned over to Glamour and Teen Vogue, and you get to see a lot of her professional life and her personal life. And I found it to be so fascinating because Elaine is a millennial. A lot of the stuff that she just talked about was really relatable, and as a black person that was basically starting to get success in corporate America, I thought that it was such an interesting look inside the industry, as well as her interactions in the workspace where she dealt with like microaggressions, colorism, ageism, a lot of different stuff. Like there is a section in there where she talks about the Black Lives Matter movement and a lot of the things that she put into her work when the movement very first came about and how she was dealing with it. So the book shows accounts all the way up through like 2016, 2017. It's very current. So I highly recommend this book. It just took me by surprise. Question number 2. Best sequel you've read so far in 2020. Is it The Dark Days Deceit or The Dark Days Pact? Whichever book is book 2 in the Lady Helen trilogy, which the first book that most people know about is The Dark Days Club. I was really into historical fiction fantasy when I picked up this trilogy, and The Dark Days Club took a little bit to get into. I listened to the first one on audiobook, so it made it a lot easier, but I just know if I would have been reading the physical copy, then it kind of would have dragged. But the first book does such a good job of building the world, building up the time period. When you get to book 2, you are completely invested. You know exactly what's going on, because a lot of the first book is Lady Helen finding out about this secret society of sorts where they do like demon hunting and stuff, and then finding out that there are certain people with special abilities. Book 2 is really like once they're already in the society, you start to get to see how layered things are, and it just made for like a good time. There was a lot of different dialogue. There were a lot of interesting historical facts. It definitely did a good job of not having second book syndrome in a trilogy. It was definitely a trilogy that gets better and better as the books go on, so I think that was for sure the best sequel that I've read so far this year. Question number 3. A new release you haven't read yet but want to. This one I'm gonna cheat a little bit because I'm currently reading it, but I'm only like 60 pages in, and that is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. This is a West African inspired fantasy duology that follows 2 main characters. I think it's supposed to be like enemies to lovers type of trope, possibly. I don't know, but they're basically out to like kill each other, and I've really been anticipating this one. I've just been trying to find a good African inspired fantasy that I really like. Hopefully I really like it and enjoy it, but this is definitely one that I am trying to finish reading this month, and I will let y'all know how I like it when I do my review next month. Question number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Y'all, I have so many highly anticipated releases for the second half of the year. In the words of Issa Rae, I'm rooting for everybody black. So there are so many good books coming out. Ray Bearer, Legendborn, Cinderella is dead. Oh, and then my guy Ben Philippe, he has a second novel coming up. I think it's called Charming as a Verb. I don't know, but I'm going to insert a picture of that one right here too. I read his first novel, The Field Guide to the North American Teen, and I just thought it was so funny and snarky. And this one is a romance written by a black male author. Like, I cannot wait. I really want to see like how it's gonna, I'm just so excited. I think it's gonna be really good. Aside from those, I'm also highly anticipating the third and final book in the Last Magician's trilogy. I want to see if Lisa Maxwell can bring it home. She has built such a unique and rich world. And then I'm also anticipating the second book in the Serpent and Dove trilogy, which is, I believe, Blood and Honey, because those are all my anticipated releases right now. But yeah, all of those books, I could do a whole video on that if y'all want me to. So if you want to see that, just leave it in the comments below. Number 5, biggest disappointment. A lot of the books I've read this year haven't really been disappointing. I'm really good at gauging if I'm going to like a book or not most of the time. I will say the only book that has disappointed me this year was featured in my recent unhaul video, and that is Girl Boss, just because people talked about that book for like a decade and it was trash. So like, that was a disappointment. Number 6, biggest surprise. Ooh, it's definitely going to be Xeni by Rebekah Witherspoon. This is a book that I read last month in May, and y'all know I recently said it in one of my other videos that BookTube loves romance right now, and I just haven't been able to get into it. But I picked up Xeni completely on a whim. Like, I just happened to see it suggested to me on Goodreads, and then I saw the cover and I was like, oh, this looks like it might be good. I listened to it on audio and I loved it. Like, it was one of the best romances that I have read, which has not been many, but it gave me basically the things that I'm always looking for in romances that I cannot seem to find in the stories. Number 1, I love the main character. Both of the main characters. Number 2, the plot had more depth than a lot of the other romance novels that I've attempted to read and not enjoyed. It follows this main character, Xeni, who is moving into a town to kind of take care of her late aunt's estate. So her aunt has just passed away, and she's really dealing with that and a lot of other family issues have come to light since her aunt passed away. And then her aunt basically had like this dying wish for her to get with one of these other guys that's in the town that she meets, and then you kind of find out like his backstory too. So you get to see both of them having like their individual issues, but then getting to see basically this whole town and getting introduced to a bunch of different characters. I love the 2 main characters. I loved the overall story arc and really watching both of them work through these internalized issues that they had. And then on top of that, like, the steamy scenes in this one were actually really good, because a lot of times like y'all be recommending me these books and you be like, oh, just wait till you read it, it's so good, blah blah blah, oh, it's steamy, and like, y'all, I be reading that stuff and I just be like, okay, vanilla, dry. But I read this one and I was like, okay, oh okay, this what we doing? Bet. That was definitely the biggest surprise. Next up is favorite new author, debut or new to you. I'm gonna have to say Lisa Maxwell. As I mentioned before, that's the author of the Last Magician's trilogy. I just think that she has done such a good job at creating a rich world that is the perfect balance of character driven, plot driven, setting driven, and historically accurate. And it's kind of hard to do all of those things well and seamlessly. And I think that her writing style is very distinctive. It really reminds me a lot of adult fantasy and adult fiction. So I think that Lisa Maxwell is like an awesome writer. And she's definitely one of my new favorites, because if she were to come out with another series, then I would pick it up. Newest fictional crush, none. Nobody. Newest favorite character. Oh, you know what? For this one, I'm going to say Catherine Devereaux, which will come as a shocker to a lot of people. Catherine Devereaux is one of the main characters in the Deathless Divide. Jane McKean in the first book, Dread Nation, was the only main character. And y'all know I love Dread Nation more than I like the Deathless Divide. I had like high anticipations, and y'all know it didn't reach my expectations. However, one thing that I did really enjoy about this book was the expansion of Catherine's character in here. I didn't dislike her in the first book, but I also was indifferent to her. But this one, you get to read from Catherine's perspective, and it just helped me to understand her a lot more as a character. It also built on her complexities, and I just I just really like her. I really enjoy her. I enjoy her moral compass. She knows who she is and she's rooted in who she is. But throughout these stories, book 1 and book 2, none of that ever stops her from doing what she set out to do or changing her loyalties, etc. So I just really like to see a character like her, just because she doesn't remind me of your typical young adult heroine. And I would love to see a spinoff with Catherine as the main character. Justina Ireland, if you can make that happen. Book that made you cry. Y'all, Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. Oh my goodness. Elizabeth Acevedo, like she sneaks up on me with it. I have not read a single Elizabeth Acevedo book where I have not cried. I don't know what it is. There's something about them where she writes her characters and her stories so well and so vividly that not only do you feel like you're reading the story and you know the characters, I feel like I know these characters on an intimate level. I feel like it's my cousin, it's my sister. So like when things happen to the characters, I get so invested. And I know for a fact, like when I read Clap When You Land, I was crying, I was in my feelings because I just felt so connected. I listened to Clap When You Land on audio. It's easier to disconnect your emotions than when you're like physically reading the book. But baby, that did not happen. I was in there feeling it, like, oh, don't even get me started. Clap When You Land was so good. It had me all in the feels. If you have not read it yet, then read it. It's definitely my favorite book by Elizabeth Acevedo. Book that made you happy. Ooh, I am going to go with You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. With everything that's been going on, I have really been in the mood to read books by Black authors, but I have also been in the mood to not read a bunch of stuff that is full of trauma. You Should See Me in a Crown is just a book that is a lighthearted Midwestern contemporary novel. It follows this main character who lives in Indiana. She's one of the only Black people at her school, but she's also queer. She's trying to get this scholarship to go to college, but she doesn't end up getting it, and the only way that she can get the money is if she runs for prom queen. It was so nice to just read something that was lighthearted, and it was also nice to know like there are stories out there like that, and it just was what I needed right now. Okay, next question is favorite book to film adaptation that you've seen this year. Easily P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. Oh, P.S. I Still Love You was so good. I think I watched it twice in like a week. It just made me so happy. They're just so fun. I cannot wait for the last movie to come out next year. So the very last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I can't remember if I read books 1 and 2 already, but I need to finish the Percy Jackson. I have had these on my shelf for years. I either read books 1 through 3 or read the first 2. I can't remember, but everybody knows now that the Disney Plus is coming out with the series for the Percy Jackson books, and I want to have these finished and read before the series comes out. So I definitely want to make that a priority before the end of the year. I am really excited for the Disney Plus adaptation. And not only that, but I've really been on a middle grade kick lately because I did not realize how good middle grade is. I've just really been loving it. And I'm reading another book under the Rick Riordan imprint by Kwame, let me see if I can find it, by Kwame Balia. I think that's how you pronounce that, which is Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky. But I'm really excited to get to those before the end of the year. And of course, like I told y'all in my stay-at-home book tag, I'm trying to get to Mistborn before the end of the year so I can really start getting into some adult fantasy, because I really want to read like N.K. Jemisin. There's another trilogy where the 3rd book just came out, The Empire of Gold. Like that, whatever that trilogy is, I really am interested in reading that too. We'll see. Those are the ones that I'm gonna try to pick up. It was so fun filming this tag. I love doing this tag every year. Leave your thoughts and everything in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Book Archer, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.